All right. Well, once again, we want to welcome everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Aplos webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about donor management. My name is Dan Kimball. It is 9 o'clock. It's a beautiful day to talk about donor management. So once again, there's still a couple people logging on, but we're going to go ahead and get going because certainly know as nonprofit leaders and fundraisers and wherever you're logging in from, we know you're busy and we want to certainly utilize our time together. So again, my name is Dan Kimball. I am a product specialist here at Aplos. Again, we want to welcome you. If you are familiar with Aplos webinar series, typically my role here at Aplos is I do a monthly educational webinar on nonprofit work, leadership, those kinds of things. But starting today for the rest of June, every Thursday, I'm going to be taking you through our brand new donor management product. So if you are just curious, you're just here to check it out, we want to welcome you. If you are an Aplos customer using our accounting product, we want to welcome you. And of course, I know that we have some people who are utilizing a new trial of our software as well. So we're super excited about our donor management product and just going to kind of build a little bit of just kind of how we got here kind of thing. Sorry, you can see my calendar there. So again, you know that we are an accounting product, been around for about 8 years, and just in the last year or so, we've been developing and building out what we now are calling donor management. For those of you who have used Aplos, remember that we call that donor relations, but that is now donor management. And we're really excited about what I'm about to show you. And again, we coming from the angle that we understand that as nonprofit workers, you guys are busy, some overwhelmed, and of course, ultimately everybody's trying to raise money. My personal background is I spent 20 years in the fundraising field as a fundraiser, working for both large and small nonprofit organizations as a fundraiser, as a board member. And so I'm kind of one of those rare birds that actually loves and enjoys the nonprofit fundraising space. And so what we did here at Aplos is we have built a donor management platform that we think is going to accomplish a couple of things. One is hopefully you're going to find it easy to use, easy to navigate, and even more important is how to build better relationships with your donors. So as we go through the software, everything we are going to go through is kind of keeping those things in mind. So why don't we get started? Again, you all have a question answer box, and if you think of a question, go ahead and type it in, and then towards the end, I'll go back through and I'll look at the questions, and we can go through them together. Also, just one more piece of housekeeping. If you this is going to be an overview. If you are finding you want a little bit more detail, like to really drill down into things, you can reach out to me. I'm going to give you my email address right now. It's dan.kimball. The last name is Kim as in Mary, Ball. So it's Kimball. So it's dan.kimball@aplos.com. Just shoot me an email and ask me any more detailed questions, or if you would like a more one-on-one detailed walkthrough with me, we can certainly arrange that as well. So again, I'm going to kind of just do this as an overview, get you so you can get to know the product. And again, if you're just sort of checking it out, or if you're actually using it and you want more questions, we can do it that way as well. So why don't we get going? So, we're going to start right here with our donor management tool. If you are an accounting customer, in other words, if you are using Aplos Accounting, of course, you will start here. For the sake of this webinar, I'm going to do this solely as a donor management customer. So I'm not going to make any assumptions that you're already using our accounting. If you are using our accounting, your data will already be populated. But the first place you're going to go is this little button right here. You see the people, because we're all about relationships. And you're going to go into donor management. And so right here on the left, these are going to be kind of the main four areas. And then within each one of these categories, there's going to be some subcategories. You'll see contacts, you'll see fundraising, you'll see communications. And that's really what we're going to kind of focus on, are these three main buckets. At the very end, we'll talk about reports. Reports is a common feature both in accounting and donor management. Won't spend as much time on that, but it's pretty self-explanatory. But just by to kind of help set the stage, we when we built donor management here at Aplos, we really did it with three things in mind. The first, and probably in some ways for me, the most important as a fundraiser, is your contacts, which is what I also like to call your donor DNA. Asking the question, how well do you know your donors? Who are your prospects? Who are your donors? What do you know about them? And so one of the key factors in any kind of nonprofit or church or any kind of fundraising environment is you really want to get to know your donor base. So we built this whole context section, which we're going to drill down into in a minute. And then after that, it's into your fundraising. And the two other components there are donor retention, which is when you get a gift, how do you make sure you keep those donors active and engaged in your nonprofit, and then donor progression, which is the third thing. And donor progression is really about, so you get a gift, you retain that donor, but hopefully over time you're developing a relationship, and ultimately down the road, those donors are giving more money down the road. So those are kind of the three things that we built this entire platform on. And so let's start right up here in contacts. Your contacts is really your Rolodex. So as you can see here, for the sake of this webinar, I'm doing this under the umbrella of what I call SJV Live, which is actually not a real nonprofit. It's one that I created for this webinar. And you can see here I have all of my contacts. You go right up here. I have a total of 69 contacts. This is your Rolodex. This is everything you kind of want to know about your donors. And you can do this on a mass import. If you are just coming over to Aplos and you're starting, you can do this in an Excel spreadsheet, or you can just start doing them one at a time. It's very easy to add a new contact right up here. So let's start first by showing you what a contact looks like. And then we'll show you kind of how to add. So again, really quickly, gives you sort of a quick overview of your donors. You can actually add a photo. This was kind of a fun example that I had the fun time putting together with my son. This is Bilbo Baggins, who's one of the donors here in the system that we are showing. We can see his giving, his last gift. And then you can start adding series of details, which we think is really important as you get to into that donor DNA. You want to create reports of contact. So every time you contact that donor or touch that donor in some way, you start to create a series of contacts and reports on that. You can create notes, and then you can also start to put those contacts into groups. In this case, we'll go more into groups in a second, but in this case, just by looking at this, I know that he's a pretty big donor. I know that there's been some contact. I know that he's in a group. You see right here where my cursor is, he's in an advisory committee. And then I also know that there's some notes that have been taken about that donor. So that's just an overview. And then with anything, you can start to drill down into more information. You see here's an email. I don't have a phone number, but let's say, for example, I got a phone number. Then quickly you can go into this edit button. And then this is where you can start adding more information. The software creates some fields, but then you can create your own custom fields if you'd like. If there's a field in here that is more applicable to your nonprofit that we're not showing, you can certainly add that. You can add a phone number, you can add multiple addresses, and then you see at the bottom, these are the groups that I created. We'll show you how to do some custom groups, but it's real simple to add, to edit. You can do these as a group, or of course you can do what we call a quick add. So at any time you can do an add contact, and you just do that right up here, and you put in the information that we just showed you. So it's really pretty simple and easy to use. And this really is what the heart of any nonprofit is that donor DNA. So that's contacts. You can build groups. Groups are real important, I think, in any software, in that, as if you want to kind of pull out and customize a group of people. For the sake of here, I have advisory committee, I have board members, some different groups that I identified. In this case, I had these music program alumni. I was working with a nonprofit yesterday that noticed that there was a a whole lot of donations coming from one particular organization. So instead of tagging those from the organization, she created a group for those donations so she can kind of track that as a group. So groups are really powerful, really helpful, especially if you have board members. Maybe you want to track board involvement, board giving, something like that. So groups are real easy and real practical way to use the software. And of course, these are the ones I put in. They're very easy to customizable. You can put any kind of group you want. Let's say you're a school and you want to say school, sports, alumni. Whoops, you should be able to type real quick. You go create, and then you'll see as soon as it's added, you go back to groups, and you see right here, it's there. And then, as you create a contact, if you're going to create a new contact, for example, you can go right down here to the bottom. You'll see that sports alumni is there. You click it and boom, they're there. And you can do multiple groups, so on and so forth. So groups, real powerful part of your contacts. We talked quickly about custom fields. You can add a custom field if there's something. For example, some organizations like to have a donor ID number. We don't put that in there for you. You can put that in there. This solicitor or something that one of our nonprofits asked about, if they have people that are out soliciting donations on their behalf, so they wanted a custom field, those kinds of things. And this little button right here called List Designer, and you're going to actually see List Designer in every one of the buckets that we're talking about. And I'm actually going to wait till a little bit to get into that, because this is one of what we think is one of the real heart of our software, which is this List Designer. And just to define it, what List Designer is going to do, it's going to give you the ability to pull a whole variety of information based off of a series of questions. But I'm going to get back into that in a couple of minutes. But you're going to see List Designer in every in communications, in fundraising, and in contacts. So that pretty much goes through contacts. So again, just remember that within each category, there's these subcategories right here. Easy to navigate kind of thing. So there is your donor DNA. So let's go into fundraising a little bit. As we all know that the kind of heart and soul of any organization is the fundraising. Again, we're focusing on donor retention and donor progression, which is want to keeping those donors and growing those donations with you. So the way we've done it here at Aplos is we've taken your data, or in this case, my data, and we put it into what we call 4 key buckets. The first is your prospects. Your prospects are pretty much anybody that is in your Rolodex or in your contacts that either have not given or have not given in 2 years. So what we feel strongly about is that even if they maybe gave 4 or 5 years ago and they stopped giving, they then become a prospect again because they're not actively giving. They're, for some reason or another, they're not engaged in your nonprofit. So we're calling them prospects again. Their giving history is still there, but they are actually in this bucket. So anytime you add a contact into your database, let's say that you had a little gathering, a meet and greet of some kind for your nonprofit, and you got some folks that signed up and want more information, you add them in the contacts like we talked about, and then they become prospects. And then at any time you can drill down on any of these buckets, and within those buckets, you can actually then click on a specific name and get more information. But those are your prospects. Your next bucket is your new donors. Those are people that have given at least one gift to your organization within the fiscal year that you set up in the system. In other words, you can set up donor management in Aplos based off of your own fiscal year. Some run January through December. Some are a July 1 through June, so on and so forth. But whatever fiscal year you're running in, you can then create based off of that. So these are your new donors. These are people who have given at least one time within that year. And then again, if you got any new this month, of course, I don't show any because it's obviously June 1st. And so I don't have any yet in June. But if I went back to May, you'd see a bunch. Engaged donors are people who have given more than one time throughout that year. So let's take a look at Eric. I'm going to show that he's engaged donor. Well, why? Well, you see he gave in July, he gave again in December, he gave again in April. The other really cool thing about this is that anytime if you want to kind of drill down on a specific donation, so let's say, for example, Eric calls and says, hey, I got a meeting with my tax guy. I know you sent me a contribution statement, but I've lost it. What do I do? You can quickly go into Eric's record. You don't have to go back and look up the batches. You can just go right here and you can go generate contribution statement, and you can set up a real nice contribution statement based off the date you're looking for. You can add your nonprofit logo, so on and so forth. So it creates a real nice, easy to produce and print contribution statement. And then, of course, you can go into the full giving history as well from there. So anyway, so we'll get back into that. So engaged donors, people who have given multiple times throughout the year. And then a lapsed donor is someone who gave last fiscal year but is not currently given in this fiscal year. Again, the fiscal year based off of what's set up here. So, for example, I have one lapsed donor, and we see that Joshua Mustard gave in November of 2015, but has not given since. So that shows up as a lapsed donor, and that becomes a real important piece of how you're communicating and relating to your donors in terms of getting those donors back. So these are 4 really important buckets. So every time you add somebody into your software, whether it's just as a contact or actually making a donation, they then fall into, we do those for you. Those fall right in there for you. Contributions, this is where you're going to go to actually input contributions, and it's really easy. You can import. So if you are, say, a QuickBooks user or using spreadsheets, and you want to import those contributions straight in, you can use this import tool. We actually will set up a sample spreadsheet for you. You can do a series and then import those in. So the other thing you should know is that if you are going to be an Aplos customer, that's something that we can help you with. We'll help you map and bring in past donations to get you caught up into the system. But just for sake of this webinar, we'll just show you how easy it is to add a contribution. So you can add an existing, you type in a name of an existing contact. Let's say that it's they're not in your system. It's a new gift. You could just quickly add Bob, or you just put the name. Let's say it's somebody that's not in your system. For the sake of this webinar, I'm going to say this is Sally Jones. I have no Sally Jones. I can just click that, and then Sally will be a new contact for the sake of the contribution. And I can go back later and fill in more details I want. So it's really easy to use. You can select a purpose. Now, these are purposes that I created for my nonprofit. You as a nonprofit have the ability to create as many purposes as you need or want. If you are an Aplos accounting customer, those purposes will automatically link to your accounting. But for the sake of this webinar, we're just going to assume you're just doing a batch simply in donor management. And you can then indicate if you've acknowledged or unacknowledged the gift, if you're doing it right then and there, if you're going to come back later. And we'll show you why that's important in a minute. And then the date of the contribution, the amount, if it's $100, let's just go ahead and just add her as a contact. And let's do general fund, no notes, expense amount, if there's any expenses related to that gift. And of course, the non-tax deductible amount. Expense amount might be something like, for example, we have people that use our online giving tool, and they choose to pay for the processing fee. So instead of a $50 donation, they might make a $52 donation. You can actually put in there that there's a $2 expense because that's not tax deductible, and go from there. And then this is in the case that if there's a gift that's involved in a non-tax deductible amount. For example, if you're doing a banquet and they get a dinner and they $50 of that dinner is non-tax deductible, the other $50 you can put that in there. So real simple, real easy to use. You can just go save and add. And just for the sake so you know what I just did there, I can cancel out of that. I'm going to go into my contacts. Really cool thing about contacts is that, you don't have to go in here. You can just go right here to a quick look. You can go Sally. You see Sally Jones. I just added her. boom, she's in there, and it shows that $100. And then you can go back later and add more information. You can also add relationships if Sally has a spouse, something like that. So as you can see, it's real easy to navigate. You don't have to do a lot of saving. It really automatically saves as you go. Contributions you can do them individually, or you can do it as a batch. For those of you who are familiar with that terminology. We're real excited about the pledges features. For those of you who do use pledges, this is a real easy way to track your pledges. Again, pledges are different than monthly contributions in that this is when someone makes a commitment to give you a certain amount, and there's a start and an end date, whereas recurring donations is like a monthly donation, and there's not an end date until that donor physically says, I'm ready to stop, or their credit card expires or something like that. And so this is the ability to set up a pledge. You can see here that, I have a $5,000 pledge. This person's making 100 installments, and it'll track as those installments are being made, and it'll notify you if, for example, a payment's missed. It'll help you catch up on that schedule kind of thing. So pledges are a real great tool. Some nonprofits are real familiar with pledges. Others are not. They're very common if you're in getting ready to or going to do a campaign of some kind. Pledges are a great way to generate enthusiasm and commitments from your donors. And Torsten, I see your question about the batch, and so I will for sure address that towards the end. So again, keep typing questions as we go, and we'll deal with them at the very end there. So that's pledges. Another great thing about the Aplos, about being Aplos Donor Management customer, is some of the things that come with it are you have the ability to create an online donation form. It's a very easy tool, easy to use. And you can then create a form where people can, it's basically your donate now button. And then you can add that to your website or your social media page, Facebook, Twitter, email, just to kind of show you here. It's a real easy to create form. You can see here I created a nice, add a picture, you can do some colors, and then you can create donation amounts. You can cut all of this, by the way, is customizable. So I did this for me, but you can do reoccurring one time, and then you can create as many purposes as if you want. If you're doing scholarships, if you're doing specific programs, we met with animal adoption services yesterday, and they have very specific needs, based off of what they're doing as a nonprofit. So really what we're trying to do is create our donor management that applies to every kind of nonprofit and church based off of where you're at kind of thing. So that's our online form. It's a powerful tool. And then, of course, there's reoccurring donations, the ability to not only input but track your folks that are giving every month, monthly donations. That's a great way to retain donors. You want to talk about donor retention. Probably one of the best ways to do is get folks on a regular monthly giving program where they don't have to think about it. And you can run reports and track those on that. And then, of course, we talked a little bit about online donations. This is if people are giving online, you can run reports based off of that. We talked a little bit about purposes. This is really, again, you can create your own purposes. There's two ways to do this. One, if you are just using our donor management, you can create these purposes here. And then if you are using our accounting and donor management, you can actually link these to your accounting. So every time you do something in donor management, it will automatically link to your accounting and vice versa. So that's kind of a cool little feature. And then let's talk about List Designer a little bit. We'll go ahead, since we're in the fundraising area. List Designer, this is probably going to be one of your most powerful tools. And fear not, if you are intimidated by technology, or you maybe get freaked out by hearing the word building queries and running reports and all of that. So what we did is we created this List Designer with the idea is that you can then create a list based off of asking some very simple questions of the things that you've inputted in the software. So if you can see this, you can see all the different categories of donation types, types of people, details about what's in there, communication, details about that donor. And so let's go back to list design. You can see here that I already created some. So for example, I wanted to do a new donors welcome. This is a list that I created and saved. Oh, I have to edit that. But let's say, for example, this is going to be a welcome list. So let's say these are new donors. And so let's just say you want to say, I want to do a new donor and lives in a certain zip code, and so you can then to start filter out just really by asking a series of questions, kind of thing. And you think, oh, that's not really what I meant. It's easy to go back. Whereas a lot of softwares, you have to kind of go in and you have to really build real complicated queries. What we've done is really just say, I'm just going to ask a series of questions. I want to say any donation during, say, the last 30 days. And then you can say they are part of a group. Maybe they are a prospect, something like that. You hit execute and it just quickly, I don't have any prospects in that have given the last 30 days, but you kind of get the idea. So list builder, list designer, really powerful. We're adding features to that literally by the week right now, but we really are finding those who are using the software are really enjoying this tool a lot in terms of being able to pull out what's specific for them and their group. We'll go back into that in a second. So the way to think about this is, again, contacts is everything to do with your donor DNA. Your fundraising is everything to do with your donations. And then finally, our last bucket is going to be our communications. And communications are really so you have donations, you have donors, you have prospects. So how do we talk to them? How do we reach out to them? What do we do? I've got 35 lapsed donors. What do I do now? Kind of idea. So the communication center is we've taken those buckets that we talked about earlier, and we're going to show them for you. And we put them in communications center. That way, kind of gives you sort of a kind of a tip or a hint about, well, maybe it's time to communicate with them. So I have 46 prospects that I have not touched. So you can do a couple things when you can click on those and take a look at them. You can create, it automatically creates that list for you. And then what you can do is you name that list. And let's say you want to export that to an Excel file to invite them to a function. Or maybe you want to save them as a group. Or maybe you want to print mailing labels. All you have to do is save this as a group. And then these will pop up. Maybe you want to send them an email, or maybe you want to send them a letter. So what we're doing is we're guiding you to real simple ways to communicate with that group of donors. And so again, we bucketed each of those fields. Many times, organizations where they struggle in the hustle and bustle of doing the work on the nonprofit, they forget to communicate to their donors. So we're trying to do is create very easy, simple steps for you to talk to those donors. So you can do it several ways. First, we have our feed. This is a fun feature where you can either create reminders or things you want to do with some of those donors. In this case, I've created a reminder to send an email to somebody. Here you have somebody whose birthday's coming up, a reminder to call or email, wish them a happy birthday. And you can go right here and you can do these individually. You can dismiss it, postpone it. You can add some communication. You can do a one-off email straight from here. So the feed's real powerful. At Aplos, we actually have our own built-in email platform. We do have an integration with Constant Contact. We do not yet with MailChimp. So if you are using what we call a third-party email platform, you can still import and export throughout the system, but you can also choose to do it within our system, and it's part of the the package. So it's a real powerful tool. You can create a new email campaign and create a list of people. You can name the campaign. And again, it's a real nice looking ability to do that. By the way, I wanted to real quickly show you, we talked about in fundraising We had talked about the online forums. I want to give you a quick example, if I could, and I'll go back into communications. This is one of our Aplos customers. This is West African Vocational School. They are both an accounting and a donor management customer. They have their own website, but this right here, if you go to the Donate Now, this is what an Aplos, a real nice Aplos donation form looks like. So it looks like they're still on the Wave website, but this is actually what they've done with it. So I just kind of wanted to show you how easy it is to use. We actually have a relationship with WePay. WePay is our internal payment processor, and the rates on WePay are very competitive, and in some cases cheaper than a lot of other online processing fees. In average, it's about 2%, 2 to 2.5% for Visa, MasterCard, and might be 2% for ACH, automatic checking withdrawal, and then 30 cents per transaction on top of that. But we can talk more detail about that at a later time. But back to communication. So I just want to kind of show you a good example of someone that's using our stuff. So we talked about the feed. You can build templates. So again, these are a great way to build some existing email templates, so you don't have to recreate every time. I see I have a first-time donor email template, anniversary. Again, as I'm building information about donors, the last nonprofit I worked at here locally, we really enjoyed sending birthday messages and cards to our donors. So at the first of the month, we would pull a report and show everybody's birthdays who were coming up that month, and we would, create fun little birthday cards for our donors. You can automate your emails as well. One really nice feature about communications is that you can do emails or you can do letters. There's still a lot of folks out there that do like to do the old-fashioned letters. So we have this letter builder here. Again, the idea is the same. You can create a template or you can create a new one. What we've done is done this in the ability for you to create a mail merge if you like, or do a one-off. Again, you can name your letter. You have your free-flowing text down here. It gives you a few options on the font, not tons. So if you're somebody that is looking for something with 200 different font options, that's not going to happen here. But I think we give you enough font options to make that available. We also give you the ability to throw in some custom fields. So if you're doing 15 letters at once, you can do create a mail merge, by putting in donor information. We do not currently have the donation amount in the merge field, but that is coming very, very soon. That is something that is going to be added soon. So from there you can save and print. You can do it later, come back to it, kind of thing. But it gives you the ability to do a nice mail merge as well. And again, in every field we have List Designer, because again, depending if you're doing fundraising, if you're communicating to, you're trying to talk to, you want to pull different lists. So real important feature there. And then lastly, just real quickly, we'll go into some reports and then we'll do some Q&A from there. So again, what we did in our reports section is we don't give you a lot of reports, partly because reports tend to be a lot more personal based off the kind of work and kind of information you're doing, which is why we have List Designer. But what we did do is created what I think are some of the top reports that most fundraising organizations are going to want. Who's giving, so your donations by contact, and of course you can customize those fields. We give you some easy filters to use in terms of when you're trying to, or the date range, live bunts and side bunts. Again, if you're not familiar with that term, it's a good term to become familiar with, but that's finding out donors who gave last year, but unfortunately not this year. And then after that, donors who gave some year, but unfortunately not this year. So again, it's trying to kind of rebuild relationship with maybe donors who were lost. Maybe there was a leadership transition in your nonprofit. Maybe somebody forgot. Maybe somebody got mad. Who knows? For whatever reasons, as a nonprofit, you're always trying to kind of refill your donor base. As people lapse, you want to try to bring people, not only new people, but bring back relationships as well. And then top donor report, pledge summary, so on and so forth. So you can also run some reports by notes, reminders, and your contact list. So I think all really powerful tools that you can use. So that's a real quick, what we call kind of a view from 10,000 feet. Of course, if your organization, has some real specific needs and you want to kind of drill down more, we can do that on a more one-on-one basis. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and deal with some questions, and hopefully I didn't forget anything too key here. So let's start here. So for the batch deposits, will an import function be added? For the batch deposits, will an import function be added like for contributions? Yes. So we well, when you say import, Torsten, let me get back to you on that one to make sure I understand your question. Can I add past contribution amounts for church members? The answer is yes. So if you come on as a Apps subscriber, what we'll do is we'll work with your organization about how far back you want to go. Kind of depends on how, typically we don't recommend trying to go to all the gifts in the past, but yeah, we can work with you on adding past contributions. And then another question, any possibility to support sending donor statements via email? Oh, and I think you're meaning contribution statements. And I believe, I'm going to get back to you, Torsten, on that. The question is can you send contribution statements via email? And I'm not 100% sure on that, but I will find that answer and email you back here. So any other questions on the software at this point? Again, if you're not signed up, we are offering a free trial right now. So we encourage you to take advantage of that, play in the software. One of the things I really want folks to know is that, for us as a software company, we want this to work for you. And so one of the best ways to do that is just get in there and play with it. If you're kind of on the fence, what I might suggest you do is sign up for the free trial. And you can either take some real data or in case what I did is just take 20, 30 names and just, put in some data, put in some donations and play around with it and tell me, and get a sense of kind of if you like it. Just like our other software, you have the ability to add multiple users. There's not a limit on users. And if you want more information about some of those details, we can get that to you as well. If you have other folks who are interested and are not part of this webinar, we are recording this. So if you've got some decision makers or other fundraising folks or board members that either want to see the software, you can go back. We'll have this available for review, as well as I am offering one-on-ones. We can log you in just like this webinar and do a one-on-one with your decision makers or other folks. Donor management, fundraising, contributions, deposits have no import capability, all manual entry. Import function in the deposits. Sorry, Torsten, I'm going to get also one more. The way to merge contacts, company, individual when there's a duplicate. There is a merging capability in contacts. If I understand exactly what merging from one of the, but you can merge two into one, and we can show you how to do that. But Torsten, I apologize. I'm going to get back to you on a couple of those deposit questions, import and all of that. And I think, yeah. So Torsten, I have your email. If I can't get to that right away. So any other questions out there right now? Okay, good. All right. Well, once again, we just encourage you to take a look at it. We hope you've enjoyed what you've seen. Give us some feedback. Again, I'm going to give you my email, which is dan.kimball, Kimball, at applos.com. You can shoot me an email, ask me any questions. If you'd like to go a little further, you want more information. At the minimum, again, I encourage you to sign up, try it out, and let us know what you think. And Torsten, I have your email here based off of your sign up, and I'm going to respond here just in a few minutes with a couple of your questions here on the deposit side. So thank you, everybody, for your time. I wish you all the best. If you're interested in more educational webinars on fundraising, you can check out our Aplos Academy. So go to applos.com, click Academy, and we've got some great educational webinars coming up. So yeah, thank you. If we use, Cynthia, one more question. If we use the accounting and already pay for the donor part, is the new donor management included in the existing cost? No. So there is separate pricing for donor management, and it's based on contacts. It's going to start at around $50 a month for up to 500 contacts. It goes up to $100 for up to 2,000 contacts, and then 5,000 contacts, it's about 180. We are offering some deals for our kind of customers. So shoot me an email, the dan.kimball email, and we can talk to you more specifically. But yes, donor management is a standalone separate product that is additional pricing regardless if you're accounting or not. Good question. All right, so Torsten, I'm going to get back to you. And again, we want to thank you for your time and wish you all a great day. Happy fundraising, and we'll talk to you all real soon. Thanks.